So you're starting to resent your wife. There are only two reasons why that's happening. Hello, I'm Dennis. I run the Academy of Man in digital courses, books, and coaching programs for married men. There are only two reasons why you're starting to resent your wife, if that's true. And they are, the first one is that there's a boundary that your wife is crossing that you're not enforcing. Maybe you're not even setting a boundary, but there's something in her behavior, the way she speaks, the way she talks, that is crossing a boundary that you have. And you're not doing anything about it. And over time, that's going to create resentment because what happens is, this is what often happens, is that you think everybody thinks like you. And I think everybody thinks like me. That's like one of the biggest mistakes that people in general make, is that we assume other people know what's going on in our head and have more or less the same software running. And that's not true. That's not true. And so what happens is that if she's crossing a boundary, but you haven't been explicit about it, in your head, you're more likely to think, well, she should know this. I mean, if she cared, she would really know this. And then if you keep telling yourself that, it's going to spin off to mean other things. It's going to mean, well, if she must know this, right? And she's doing it anyway. So that must mean that she doesn't love me, or she hates me, or she's really just messing with me, or she's not really into this marriage either. And all of that could be nonsense. I say could be because, hey, let's just be honest. Sometimes it's like that. You know, there's no happily ever after. If you still got that fairy tale of happily ever after, and that she's the one, you know, in a fairy tale sense, and I mean in a fairy tale sense, then there's a link in the description for a book about marriage mistakes. It's free, and it'll lay out some of this basic stuff that you got to get your head around if you want to have a healthy marriage. And so what this other does, like if you have a boundary that you're not enforcing, you're essentially expecting your wife to read your mind. And that's not good for anybody. And you probably know that. I mean, you probably had the experience where your wife expects you to read her mind, and it's not fun. And it's not fun because it's totally irrational. It's not how good communication happens. It's not how healthy marriages or relationships of any kind are built. So if you're expecting your wife to read your mind, top tip, stop. So boundaries is the first one. The second one you might like even less. All right. So the second reason that you might be feeling resentful to your wife is that whatever she's doing, whatever's happening, is poking you in a place of your immaturity. Yeah. Whatever is happening, if it's not a boundary, then it means she's probably poking you in a place where you haven't leveled up. And I don't say that with any ill intent on my part. I've definitely had to look at myself in the mirror more than one occasion and tell myself and be honest with myself that I was acting like a little kid, acting like a little boy. And so this is an opportunity for you to level up, to look at yourself and learn how to grow up, and learn how to grow up in that way. Now, I'll say that this is a common thing. It's not like in our society, man, it's like we speak, oh, you know, I went to school, went to high school, became 18, got a car, 21, got drunk, went to college, done. I'm done. I learned everything I need to learn. But that ain't it, man. You're not done until you're dead. And if you believe in God like I do, not even then. So what happens is that we get comfortable, we get stuck, we feel good in the fact of our level of development, and we think, yeah, I'm done. And that's not true. Now, you know, maybe you did some real self-development work, maybe you saw a therapist, definitely no shame in that game. Yeah, I've seen a therapist 3 times in my life, and each time it was helpful. And so maybe you learned, you leveled up in some way 5 years ago, and that's good, and that is something you should be proud of. But that ain't going to carry you for the rest of your life. It's like for everybody. Maybe so. Some men have they haven't leveled up a part of them, and they're kind of like a 5-year-old. And maybe some of us haven't leveled up part of us, and we're kind of like a 17-year-old. And then maybe the older ones, I'm 43, maybe in me, in some ways, I still act like a 25-year-old. And even older people, maybe they act like a 40-year-old. It doesn't matter. But the point is we got to progress through life. We need to grow through life. It's like there's a mountain and you're going to climb a mountain. And so you struggle, you work hard, you level up, and you do the hard work to level up, and you get to a plateau. And it's good. You've reached a stage. And that's something you should be proud of. You've become a better man. Good. Celebrate that. Enjoy that plateau for a bit. But then eventually, you got to get back and keep climbing that mountain, because there's another plateau up there. And if you stay on that first plateau, then, you're going to start to notice that you're getting older, and the people who are joining you on that plateau are younger. Something's not quite right. So you got to keep climbing that mountain, keep getting to the next plateau. And the bad news is, or the uncomfortable news is that you'll never get to the top. And that's just how it is. And the sooner that you can just accept that self-development is a path that has no end, the better you are, the better off you'll be. Now, it doesn't mean that there are not moments of enjoyment, that there are not gifts and treasures along the way, because there are. So if you're resenting your wife, it's one of these 2 reasons. If you want help on how to level up, how to become a more mature man, then, like I said, click the link in the description, and you'll get on my email list. You'll get a free book and get on my email list. I do coaching programs for men. I have a digital course specifically for how to be married well. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe, like, bell, all that stuff, and see you in the next one.